giving you a choice. Either put on these glasses or start eating that trash can.
Not this year.
Okay. All right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Real Boys, the only podcast where we got 8 people together so we could talk about all of our favorite movies one after the other. My name is Dylan. Zach, do you have a sound effect?
I'm Zach.
Okay, I thought you were going to rack the shotgun. Okay.
I was going to, but I think the safety's on or something. I don't know how these Nerf guns...
It's weird on that one, I remember.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah.
you're watching The Real Boys, where we talk about movies. I'm your host this week, Dylan, because this is my number 2 movie, They Live, directed by John Carter. It wasn't written by him, but it was...
It was not written by John. It was not directed by John Carter
John
from
Carpenter.
Mars.
I'm off to a great start.
John Carter. All the way from
Martians,
Barsoom.
right? Yeah, it's all about aliens, whatever. Anyway, directed by John Carpenter. It was released in 1988. It's got Roddy Piper. It's got Keith David. It's got Meg Foster in it. And it's about what happens when someone puts on sunglasses that show them that the world is controlled by capitalist aliens. And it's a tight 90 minutes, 3-act structure, pretty basic, but it's it's a little over the top. It's a little under animated a little bit. Everybody's kind of playing low for a lot of the movie. Yeah. And otherwise,
everybody except your main character.
Everybody except your main character is kind of playing to the front row.
He is giving it the business too.
It follows Roddy Piper's unnamed drifter character. He goes into LA. He stumbles onto like an underground kind of rebellion against someone. Finds a pair of sunglasses, puts those sunglasses on. Everything turns grayscale. He sees advertisements for what they really are, and fights some aliens. Kind of. That's it. That's kind of the entirety of the movie. It's kind of a. You figured it out. All right.
I figured it out.
Cool. Yeah, so I am here tonight myself. We've got Zach and Michael and Dan Levely. Dan, how you doing today?
Ooh. Hey, how's it going, guys?
Doing well. Welcome to the
Smoke's
show.
up in the house.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Dylan, you went over a bunch of things, but as a fan of Dune, I was pretty surprised that you didn't mention who wrote this movie. Who was credited to write this movie?
Oh, I don't have it in front of me, actually.
You don't have that in front of you, Mr. Okay, so honestly, so the name of the person that was credited with writing this movie is Frank Armitage. Now, Frank Armitage is, if you're a fan of H.P. Lovecraft, Henry Armitage is a character in Lovecraft, the Dunwich Horrors. And as a lot of people, even like David Lynch, when he directed the original Dune, he didn't credit himself because he wasn't very proud of what he was doing. Because John Carpenter co-wrote this with his wife and partner at the time, he didn't feel that one person should have a name, and it wasn't sure if that was a good thing. So they went with Frank Armitage, which is a very weird Lovecraftian reference. But I thought that, I don't know why, there's some weird trivia and weird information you can find about this movie.
There is. What's the placeholder name a lot of screenwriters use when they're not proud of what they've written?
That's like, the one. Yeah, that's the one that he did for Dune.
Yeah.
I forget that. I forget.
Scam Likely? I don't know.
No.
Scam Likely. That guy calls me all the time.
Yes.
Does he?
It's like 5 times a day.
Guy. He sends me a lot of emails.
But it's based originally on a short story, little 6-page short story called 8 o'clock in the Morning by Ray Nelson, which was published in one of those old magazines in the 60s, which is also about a guy who gets woken up by a hypnotist and sees that some people around him are aliens and commits some what would appear to be horrific murders and breaks into a TV station, broadcasts the message, frees everybody, and then, dies at 8 o'clock in the morning. Spoiler alert.
I would believe that this was based off of a 6-page story because the pace of this movie is, I would say, snail's pace. and that's fine. This is not a complaint. But the soundtrack also definitely plays into that because this is the most like laid back, jazzy soundtrack you will ever hear. And I am totally into it. It's like just slow, like double bass, just like
it's so weird. Like, when you think about like the most famous scene ever, which is him fumbling into a bank, and it's like, I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick some out. I forgot that weird little like boom, 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 boom. It's almost like a Beverly Hills Cop theme going on behind him.
Now, the first time I heard that was I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass was Duke Nukem.
Mm-hmm.
Back in I think it was like the 90s. So was this before?
Yeah.
Like this originated from
so this originated by Roddy Piper, and the cool thing is that this line isn't in the script. Apparently John Carpenter was such a fan of Roderick Thomas, aka Roddy Piper, that he found a notebook that Roddy would carry around with him where he would just write down random insults that he was going to throw at wrestlers. And if you hear Roddy saying anything in the movie that's kind of just crazy or wrestler talk, it's because like John Carpenter found this book, was a huge wrestling fan, and made him do the pile driver in the movie. That was a John Carpenter request. He's like, I'm gonna make the coolest, longest fight scene in cinema history, and it's gonna have a pile driver in it.
It's definitely the longest.
7 minutes. What a great scene.
Yeah,
it was a good scene.
So we talked a little bit about the music. This was also scored by John Carpenter and a guy named Alan Howarth, who's worked with John Carpenter before and does a whole lot of other stuff. But John Carpenter scores a lot of his own movies, and now that he doesn't make movies anymore, he's on tour as a musician, and he's been releasing albums for like the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah,
he's always described his scores as like audible wallpaper because he doesn't pay much attention to them. He just kind of puts on like boom, 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 like very Western influenced minimalist scores.
I remembered this score being like a synth heavy, like what he did in I'm trying to think of like some of the movies, but like he does a lot of like synth heavy stuff, and I was thinking that was in this too, but it is not this, because this is like straight, like it would have came out of Twin Peaks was this score to this movie. And I was like, wow, this makes it so much better. This might be John Carpenter's best movie.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm gonna agree with you on this one. There's so many though. I've always had this movie in my brain as like a movie that I've loved, and it's because of like the weird sci-fi thing. Talking to Dylan, obviously, if you ask him, like, this is a concept that I would pitch to Dylan. Like, hey, there's glasses that make you see aliens. But what I did not realize until this last rewatch is how anti-Republican this movie is, and how anti-Reagan this movie is, and how so like in today's values, this movie makes so much more sense now. To think that like he was trying to touch on homelessness, and that's why the main character's name is Nada, which is obviously Spanish for nothing or zero, because he wanted Roddy Piper to be a blank slate. He wanted him to be just a nothing normal American. So much so that apparently he didn't even give Roddy Piper a backstory. He told Roddy, like John Carpenter told Roddy, he's like, hey, I want you to go home tonight, think of the entire life of this character, but don't tell anybody. Only you know about this. So like, but this movie, like even the extras were actual homeless people because they filmed in a homeless shelter area, and he paid all of them what extras would get paid because he was like this story meant so much to him as what he meant to be, which is anti-Republican and anti-like establishment. The problem is that some absolute D-bags took this movie and made it theirs because they think that for some reason aliens are Jewish people, which is ridiculous. This movie is clearly anti-Republican and
very specifically anti-Reagan. Like,
oh yeah.
John Carpenter has come out and said that this is specifically targeting the what do you call it? The Reagan, not Reaganomics, but something about how Reagan kind of reshaped things and how everything got commercialized. And you can see that in, I think, George Buck Flower's character, the homeless guy who becomes the collaborator, how he becomes part of it. And he's like, we're on the losing side. Isn't it okay to have something nice? And it's like, well, is it? Like, if you're on the losing side of this thing, how much do you sell out before you become too much of a sellout? And I think John Carpenter has the right cynicism to tackle this without it being. It's very clearly on the nose, but I don't think it becomes too much. At least for my taste.
I agree. I mean, it is an 80s movie, so it has like that kind of like sheen over it, which is like, all right, I see what you're doing. You're an 80s movie. But like the cool thing that I found out in researching this movie this week was he would show executives this, like the parts that he filmed and his script, and the executives would say things to him and he was like, perfect. And he actually took their sayings and put that into the script. Like there was one person, I had it right here for a second. There was one person that told him, so it's like a universal executive questioned why the aliens were not, say, turning poor people into food, as in Soylent Green. When John Carpenter explained that he wanted the aliens to be after like our businesses, the executive replied, well, where's the threat in that? We all sell out every day. And Carpenter threw that exact line into the movie. As every person he talked to was the person he was making fun of in this movie, which is so smart.
Yeah, so Dan, you had not seen this movie before, correct?
No, this is my first time.
Cool.
Wow.
What are your first thoughts having watched this, like, overall?
It was good. I liked it. Like, I enjoyed it. I had that 80s nostalgia about it, which I like about movies. That's why Hills Have Eyes was in my top 5. But it's a John Carpenter movie too, which is another grab. And plus, it had Hot Rod Roddy Piper in it, so you got to throw it in there. And the fight scenes, the long fight scene that they had in the back alley was amazing. I could have watched that the rest of the movie. Like it could have just went. It could have just went entire fight scene, roll credits, and that would have been like, this is great.
The beginning of that
could
scene
not have done that.
The beginning of that scene is one of my favorite movie lines of all time, which Zach put in today's intro, which is put on the glasses or start eating that trash can.
I'm going to give you a choice.
It is so blunt and needless, and it's so good.
I don't understand why he has such a hard time getting everybody to put on the sunglasses. It's like there's sunglasses. He can't get this woman to put on the sunglasses. He can't get Keith David to put on the sunglasses. It's just like fucking put on the sunglasses.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
absolutely.
to
I won't put
everybody,
them on.
yeah, to everybody, he's just a crazy homeless man saying, "Try my sunglasses on. Look, aliens." I'm like, no, I'm gonna probably walk away from you.
Yeah, but like in the I forget the woman's name, but in her case, like he's in her apartment with guns, and it's like, I mean, she even says, I'll put these on, but I'm going to see what you see no matter what. It's like, fine, then just put them fucking on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but that drove me crazy this time.
Love it.
It was the 80s. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so weird guy chased me down the alley trying to get my sunglasses on him. No.
Yeah, it's not like he was asking them to like take a pill or
Right.
like, get an injection. He was just asking them to put some sunglasses on.
Whoop. Hold on, I accidentally did something wrong. Anyway, we're good.
You didn't end the broadcast like somebody did a couple weeks ago.
I did not
Hey,
end the
listen.
podcast.
I was on my cell phone by a trash compactor. At least I showed up.
There's
One of the cool things about this movie is the poster. Like coming from Blockbuster and Regal Cinema and stuff, this poster is so weirdly striking, but also has the most amount of words on it for a tagline. And if you don't know, the poster says, "You see them on the street, you watch them on TV, you might even vote for one this fall. You think they're people just like you. You're wrong. dead wrong. Like, why put that on a poster? That's crazy.
Because you're John Carpenter, and John Carpenter does what John Carpenter is going to do. And he doesn't give a fuck if it's like not concise. He doesn't care if it's not what people want to see. John Carpenter makes what John Carpenter wants to make. And that's all there is to it. And that's why John Carpenter is like one of the absolute best directors and writers, I think, in movies ever, because he makes what he wants to make, and damn how much money his movies are going to make, and damn, how critics are going to think of his movies. And I think that's something special that not many people have. That's the tagline he wanted his movie to have. So that's the tagline his movie was going to have. And if you don't like it, go fuck yourself.
That's fair.
This movie is one of Carpenter's most successful releases. It spent some time in the top 10. It opened at number 1, and it made $13 million on a $3 million budget back in '88, which is really good.
So here's the weird thing about that. So it opened at number 1, spent 2 weeks at number 1, and then mysteriously left theaters. That's true. It only spent 2 weeks to 3 weeks in theaters and still made $13 million, $88, which I think is like $7 billion
now. Yeah.
Yeah. But John Carpenter's one of those interesting filmmakers who makes what a lot of execs would probably consider flops, and yet still comes back to make these movies that have stayed in pop culture for a long time. And, you've got The Thing, Halloween, obviously, it has a bunch of sequels, which we don't necessarily need to consider or talk about or anything. Escape from New York is great. You've got Assault on Precinct 13. He's done a whole bunch of stuff.
I just watched Escape from New York and Escape from LA again. I have a hot take on that. Escape from LA is way more fun. I think that's a way better movie.
Well, any 90s movies that have basketball scenes in them is always a top-notch movie.
Plus,
what is it,
Escape
Aliens
from
3?
LA has Bruce Campbell in it, so that's also an extra added bonus.
Well,
yeah.
That's fair.
But John Carpenter, I put this in my top 5 because it's reckless. It's not reckless. It's really, really well paced as far as structure goes. You got the half-minute mark, which is the destruction of the drifter camp and when he puts on the sunglasses. You got the 60-minute mark, which is when he gets Keith David there, and then in the alley fight. And then from that point onward, it is all escalation to the climax, and then it's over. It cuts to the scene in the bedroom, and you get the last line of the movie, which is, "What's wrong, baby?" Cuts to black.
So
Michael?
Stupid. It's the low point of this movie because it doesn't fit in with this movie anywhere. There is no reason for this last scene. It doesn't make sense in this movie.
Dan, do you agree with Michael? Do you think that this last scene sticks
I think
out?
If it would have happened in if all this was real life and it would have happened somewhere, somehow, a couple would have been doing that exact same thing, and she would have been like, "Oh shit."
Oh yeah, no, I mean absolutely that would have happened somewhere,
right.
But it doesn't belong in this movie. It doesn't fit in this movie. It just doesn't fit in this movie. And I'm not opposed to nudity or sex scenes in movies, but a gratuitous thing to end your movie, it makes no sense. And it was every time I watch this movie, it strikes me as, why is this in this movie?
Oh, so now you're questioning John Carpenter.
Zach, would you agree, or do you think Michael's being a prude?
Michael is always being a prude. Keep in mind, this is an 80s movie. It is so far different than everything John Carpenter was making. And I think that to end it on a very weird, jarring note just makes sense, because what is this movie? The hero is a nobody. He's just a grifter, And he's like, then he hears church people talking one day. It's like, I guess I'll put these glasses on. And then he fights a man in the back alley, shoots up a bank, and then I guess he wins.
He kills a lot. He kills a lot of cops, though, too.
Yeah,
alien cops.
But yeah,
they're probably
he does let the one human cop go.
Yes,
that's true.
Yeah, Interesting bit of trivia. John Carpenter originally wanted to cast Kurt Russell as Nada instead of Roddy Piper.
He did.
Which
Yeah,
he decided not to because he felt he should cast someone else after the last 3 movies he made featured Kurt Russell.
Yeah, and the next 3, I think.
I mean, and honestly, this is Roddy Piper's best role, like by a long shot. He's the best in this movie. He's still not great. Like Kurt Russell would have been a way better actor, but something about Roddy Piper in this movie works. Like I was even thinking if they would have switched Keith David and Roddy Piper, it might have made it better. But also, there's something about Roddy Piper in this movie doing his Roddy Piper thing that worked so well that even if you put the better actor in Keith David as the main role and Roddy Piper as the back, like the secondary character, it wouldn't have worked as well. But I couldn't stop thinking about what if they would have switched it.
Because if you did have a Kurt Russell in here, it would end up being like a falling down kind of movie where it would really like lean too hard on the acting ability and like the acting of it, you know. Whereas this movie, because you have a professional wrestler, because you give him the opportunity to make up his own backstory, because you give him really improvisational like freedom, you have somebody that just gives it a hunt. I can't think of the last time an actor gave a movie this much of themselves and like this percentage that he just goes at it. I haven't uploaded a couple of clips. If one of them, I try to get a real. So like, there's one clip where I was trying to get this one. My favorite scene of this movie, I think, is when he's in the grocery store and he's looking at something, and like a woman bumps into him, and he's like, "You look like you fell in like
cheese dip in 1947."
1947. And then he looks at somebody and goes, "You're fine. You're normal. But you, formaldehyde face." And for some reason, he just stumbles over a can of soup. It's like, what is happening here? Like he just backs into like a display in the grocery store. Dude, it's such a weird scene. But yeah, he gives it his all. And even when he goes into the bank and he's like, he says this thing, the first thing that happens is a cop shoots out. He's like, what?
that scene, like when he comes in and he just comes in, he's like, "I've come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum." And it doesn't make any sense there.
Yeah, it has no relevance to the rest of the movie.
It's so weird that he goes in and says it. But
he has another punchline too, and it's like, "Life's a bitch and she's in heat," or something like that.
Yes.
And I was like, this is hilarious.
And this movie, I think it needs this, because I think you're right. If Kurt Russell would have been in this, it would have like leaned too heavy into the drama. Like we need that camp from Roddy Piper just eating the scenery in every scene in this movie. We need that to keep it more lighthearted, because this could be a heavy movie, but because of Roddy Piper, it's not. Like it straddles that line perfectly.
Yeah. And I uploaded this clip because I love the fact that everyone's memory of this movie is chew bubblegum and kick some ass, but I don't think they remember the soundtrack that goes with it. So I'm gonna play a quick clip real fast, just so that you guys and turn your speakers up, because the soundtrack is so, for some reason, unremarkable.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
It's like instant. Bam!
That's great.
Immediately the cop just shoots at him. He's like, "Oh, this glasses."
And even like John Carpenter's scores, like even the synth heavy, like weird pop stuff that he does in like Halloween, and it's still not much. There's not much to his score, but they fit the scenes in his movies so perfectly. It's like only John Carpenter can score John Carpenter movies because he knows in his head exactly what he wants this scene to look like and sound like and feel like. And if he had if like a Danny Elfman score would have went with this movie, but it wouldn't have been the same. Like you could have put some Danny Elfman music in this movie and it would have been fine, but it wouldn't have made this movie what it actually is.
It's all atmosphere. Sorry, I don't mean to get
No, that's fine. That was pretty much what I was about to say. Like it's all just like it fits what he's doing. And like I said, this movie does not move. This is not a fast-paced movie. Even the big fight scene in this movie, there's no like big fights against a bunch of aliens, which you would think there would be. There's not. And even that big fight scene in the alleyway is so slow. Like it never really goes. It's just a long, drawn out. And I do have to say props to the makeup department during that fight scene, because like Keith David has all these like road rash things. Like there is a scab on the back of his head that looks so gnarly. And I'm like, that looks like, I was wondering the whole time, did he really scrape the back of his head against the pavement? Because it looks really good and gross. And it's like pink. It's just, it's horrible looking. And I'm like, wow, great job, makeup department. If he didn't in fact scrape the back of his head.
Yeah.
It kind of did look real. Yeah.
So apparently when John Carpenter found out that Keith David knew, like had done boxing for a while, he like took Roddy Piper and they actually he made Roddy Piper and Keith David go to diners together in character, which is very, very weird. Because they would come back and John Carpenter like, what'd you guys talk about? Like we were in character. We were just two guys at a diner. But apparently they worked on that fight scene for about 2 months, because what Carpenter wanted, he said he hates in movies when there's a fight scene in an alley and all of a sudden everybody knows kung fu and everyone knows karate and it's like punch, jump off this. He goes, two real men fighting in an alley over something stupid would be kind of drawn out and almost boring in an interesting way. And I agree. I mean, that fight scene, and because this movie has such a weird pace, the fight scene works so perfectly in there.
Yeah, and like you can tell that there's two different styles. You can tell that the guys involved in this fight both know what they're doing, but they're both doing different things. Like Piper is grappling and Keith David is throwing punches. And the other thing about it is it's disgusting. Like they're in this dirty alley with like a mud puddle running through the middle of it. And they're like, the back of Roddy Piper's like flannel, it gets all like wet and gross, and they look like they're stinky at the end of it. And it's like people who make movies don't do this shit. They don't make these guys look gross after a fight scene, but these guys looked gross. And then when they're walking down the street afterwards, and they both look like they just smell, and they're like, everybody's like avoiding them. Mm-hmm. And yeah, again, Carpenter, one of the only people who keeps those small details in what he's doing, and it's like perfection.
Yeah, it's like their faces when they were walking around, you can actually tell. Like no other movie would do that. It would just be like a little scrape here to scrape there, and then they're still pretty. But no, they look like they got the hell beat out of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is another movie where these are two good-looking guys. Like Roddy Piper is good-looking, Keith David's good-looking, but they're not afraid to make them look gross. It's like Tom Hardy in those Venom movies. Like they're not afraid to make him look gross either.
Yeah, he's so sweaty in those.
Yeah, he's so sweaty and oily.
Yeah, it's just so wet.
Yeah.
You know, you can find the screenplay for this online for educational purposes, and the section for the alleyway fight is 5 pages of the fight continued. 80, the
Yes.
fight continued. 81,
Yeah.
the fight continued. 82 continued, the fight continued. Finally, and then it finally breaks into the like specific action. But they were having such a good time doing like just filming this. It took them 3 weeks to rehearse apparently. But
Wow.
yeah, so they just had such a great time. They're like, yeah, we're gonna keep all of this in. You guys just do what you're gonna do.
It's like, let's
And
do
then
the entire fight scene.
amazingly-
And then there you go.
And then amazingly, in a park, like in an alleyway full of parked cars, Roddy Piper hits the back windshield out of Keith David's car. Amazingly, to keep that fight going.
I love that moment too, because they both have this realization where it's like, whoa, we escalated a little further than we intended. It's like, I'm sorry. David just comes
But then
him.
at the same time, you broke the back windshield out of my car, and I'm a broke ass construction worker.
It was almost like every time the fight could have stopped, like Roddy Piper did something that just could have pissed him off more. It's like, dang it, and it just kept going at him.
Yeah.
It's I even said it, like I said it on my social media stuff when I was posting about it. It was like first act escalation, second act alleyway fight, third act resolution. Like,
Yeah, dude, that's classic storytelling right there.
yeah, I mean,
Perfect.
that second act is that fight, and it's the turning point of the movie.
Yeah.
Because that is, even though it takes forever to happen, that is what gets Keith David to put on those sunglasses and see what's going on, and that lets the movie continue. So
Yeah.
despite the fact that it is excruciatingly long, it's still what needs to happen there.
Yeah, because it's the first time I think that these two men like felt respected by somebody. They felt respected, they felt trusted, they felt on even ground. Roddy Piper finally, like I said, his character is he is a nobody from nowhere. And for the first time ever, he has a partner. He has like a person he wanted to hop on board with him, and now they have this trust. And I think it's a cool, weird scene in the middle of this very weird movie.
And then after the fight, movie kind of, I don't want to say slows down, but it definitely kind of unwinds from here, because you have the fight scene. Now everybody's on even ground. They kind of hole up for a little bit, and they go to a meeting of rebellion people who have clearly kind of been doing this for a while. And all the rebellion stuff comes out of like, it's not a focus. It's not some like wide reaching conspiracy. It feels like just a bunch of people hanging out in LA, and they have, contact lenses, which work. And you find out that, what's her name? Holly Thompson, played by Meg Foster, has kind of shown up, and she kind of forgives Roddy Piper for kidnapping her. Then they get attacked. How did you guys feel about the portrayal of this kind of like underground rebellion against these aliens who control everything in here? Anybody?
It was weird that they kind of gave them like a religious point of view, because like it felt like something about it felt religious to me, which I thought was very odd, because I think the proof of aliens would negate most people's idea of God. But I think anytime that there are people that can see the truth of something, they're going to be out there. And except there is a sect of people that figured this out, that knows what's going on, and wants just more conversation about it. I think it makes sense, and I dig it. I'm in.
Yeah, I didn't feel like there was the religious part of it didn't seem like it was really the thing that they were going after. Like, they met in a church, the street preacher guy was like preaching, but it never felt like it was overly religious. It felt like meeting at a church was the safest place for them to meet, because it's like that's where people meet. They just meet at churches. So that felt right to me.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it kind of read like how you think about early Christians, where like they don't really want to talk to a lot of people. They have their signs, they meet in certain places. It's like, hey, not everyone should, we can't trust everyone with this information, but we know what's really going on here, So that's kind of how I took it. But yeah, I guess it's not as religious as.
Yeah, but I mean, I also get, the religious part of it is there, but it felt more like, it was a cover up for what they were actually doing. But it did seem weird to me in that scene, because they bust in and break this place up, and like all of these people who have been in this rebellion for years apparently just fell like a bunch of chumps. Like they had no idea what they were doing. And then the new people, the Roddy Pipers and the Keith Davids, who
the only
just
two that
sort
lived.
of just figured out what was going on. They're the ones who escaped, not the ones who, were dealing with this stuff for years.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the contacts. See you guys later.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, this movie is so like heavy on theme that it might be some reference to like you have to have a really organized, cohesive plan, because you see them kind of talking amongst themselves about like we can't be doing this sloppy and stuff like that, and then you see where that sloppiness gets them.
Yeah.
If there was to be a remake of this, you guys think that religion would play a much more present tone in how the aliens kind of like act?
No, I think if they put more religion into this, it would probably turn people away from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Michael said earlier, I really didn't grasp the religion part of it. It was just pretty much if aliens were going to infiltrate Earth, this is pretty much how they would do it. So if they haven't already, who knows?
Yeah,
I don't think there'd be as much religion. I think it'd be more kind of like hackers versus certain things, like computer people versus aliens. Because if you just put like a virus into an alien mothership, usually that takes care of all problems. So that's probably what they would work on.
We did see that in a biopic, Independence Day, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Patriot Games.
Great
reason we have fireworks.
Hackers.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not big on remakes. Not because I'm not against updating things, but this movie, I feel like it would be like the RoboCop remake, where they sort of take all the heart out of it and they skip over the theme of what the movie is actually about. Like if they redid They Live, maybe with like a Nicolas Cage or somebody who could give us that Roddy Piper. No, I'm not saying Nicolas Cage. I'm saying somebody who could give that 120%, over the top energy. But they would really need to stick to those themes. And I just feel like movies are so clean now that they would miss the point of this movie. Like everything would be too clean and we're just like, we're not.
PC.
I don't think it would have anything to do with PC either.
PC culture gone mad right now.
Because this movie, I mean, is pretty goddamn PC, I would say.
I disagree with you 100%. This movie's not PC. I don't know about politically correct, but I mean, if you think about it, the aliens are all white, well-off people that live in a fancy place. Anybody that is of color lives in Justiceville, which is like their shanty town, which is next to, like Little Mexico or whatever the Spanish part is. This movie is nothing but gentrification, white supremacy, really, but done in a weird alien way.
Yes, but those rich people are the villains of this movie. Like That's what I'm saying about PC. Like the homeless people and the people who can see what's going on, these are the forgotten members of society, but they're the ones who are doing the right thing. They're the ones who we're rooting for in this movie. This is not, this is a case of white supremacy, but those people are the bad guys. Like those people are the aliens who are trying to take everything over.
Well, I mean, I think there's actually two villains of this movie. There is the aliens, which is very clear, but there's also like the rich white people that I think might know what's happening, but still partake in it.
Hush hush about it.
Yeah.
And those are your villains.
The collaborators.
I mean, you don't get any more PC than making rich white people your villains.
Not in the 80s.
Not any time.
Not anything.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Going back. Oh, go for it, Zach.
Okay.
No, go. You finish up because mine is going to pivot the conversation a little bit.
Well, I was going to say that I think a remake would, maybe not a remake. I think a sequel. And Dylan and I have pitched to each other the idea of They Still Live.
We have this nascent idea floating around.
Yeah. I would love that. I would love a sequel to this movie.
I don't think we'll get into it here necessarily.
No, but Michael, if there was a director to do a remake, reboot, sequel, whatever, a director, who would you want?
I mean, I'm gonna have to go with my standby. What's that?
Oliver Stone.
Yeah, no, it's Michael Bay, obviously. No, Paul Verhoeven, I think, would do a good job with this.
What about Tim Burton? Maybe a Tim Burton.
Oh no. He would lean too much into the goofball alien shit.
Yeah.
And I love a Tim. I just rewatched Mars Attacks. It's great. But Tim Burton would totally miss the point of a They Still Live.
No, talking about points,
like a Jordan Peele though. But go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, a Jordan Peele would be great.
Do you think that a crass commercialized sequel released directly to Amazon Prime streaming would actually be an additional meta commentary on the themes of the original movie?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if it costs money. You can't even stream it for free.
Yes, you can't stream it for free. It's an additional $25 charge for the first 3 months or whatever, however long Disney works.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, Disney, you're Disney in us.
Because technically, like that company Obey, like the hats and the shirts, like that all came from this. And that guy said his name is Shepard Fairey, and he said that he got the name Obey from this movie because it was like a very strong message about the power of commercialism and the way that people are manipulated by advertising, which is weird because that is a multi-million-dollar company that focuses on making sure people fall in line and obey. Which is very, very weird. But yeah, anyway, go ahead, Dylan.
No, that was it. I just wanted to ask, like, could you make a meta commentary on the original movie and like do the subversion while also selling out in the spirit of the villains in the original? But
yep, it's got to have a McDonald's Happy Meal toy to some degree.
Denny's
meal. It's got to have some kind of huge alien fight scene at the end that just gets blurred with most televisions. But yeah, 100%. And I think that if you put it in like IMAX theaters only and charge like a special $35 viewing just to make sure that it's 3D in the best way, I think you can really, really get the people the right way and get the real rich white people too. Let's go. With
that.
Oh, now all I can
Musk and Bezos and all of that.
Yeah. All I can think about now is how much I want a McDonald's Happy Meal toy of one of those aliens.
Oh yeah.
So the weird thing is that the prop designer, he is the person who wore the mask. Like he dressed up as every single alien. If you ever see an alien on screen, this one alien, it is the same man who, even as women, he also wore pumps, but he thought that if the aliens all had roughly the same shape and the same thing, but like their costumes were different. So the same guy wore everything except for when there were scenes of like multiple, then like John Carpenter's wife, I think, did it. But I think one of the weirdest bit of trivia that I found out when researching this movie is in the scenes that they would film, like the newsstand in the black and white, where they would do like the magazine just said obey, whatever. Apparently, some people would walk by that and like not extras, not people of the film crew, and literally look at it, pick one up, read a couple pages, and ask to buy it. And it was just a white thing that just said, purchase me, obey, that kind of stuff. And a lot of people just look at it and kind of walk away. Some people wanted to buy it. Not one person complained about it, which is very weird. And also, another bit of information I found out, which I thought was very cool, is John Carpenter wanted to pay as many homeless people to be in this movie as possible. But so the way he saved some money was, instead of buying black and white film you would normally just do for black and white scenes, he actually bought color film at a reduced rate and bled the color out of it, which is what gave all the aliens that weird kind of discolored eyes accidentally. Wow. Which he did not mean to do because he just saved money, but it worked out very well.
So breaking news, a development that just occurred literally like 15 minutes ago. We have had a charge filed against our channel from NBCU to block this video because of those clips that we played. We did it.
We did it.
Wow.
NBC found us. So anyway, we're going to deal with that later. You'll probably listen to this. At least it happened on the one that was streaming
the good way, but
that's no. I did upload something just in case NBC has something to say. So please hold on a second.
You gonna pay for that or what? Look, buddy, I don't want no hassle today. Either pay for it or put it back.
So NBC, we're gonna put that clip right back, and we're not gonna pay for it. And I'm very sorry about that.
Oh no, it's all right. It's all right. I'll pay for it.
Oh, you should put that right to Phil Better's Patreon account.
That was my original joke for this, was that it was Phil's paycheck, but since he's not here,
it worked out well then.
Damn.
Oh, that's funny.
Wow, we got flagged by NBC.
We made it. We didn't get flagged last on Tuesday. We were showing clips of what did we show? Oh, the Flash trailer.
Trailers. I don't know how much they protect trailers versus how much they protect this, but they got us on something.
Yeah. That's okay.
Wow.
I'll edit it out.
We did it.
I'll put a filter on it. But at least NBC's watching.
Now nobody's watching this anymore because you got us turned off.
Oh, we got some people on Twitch. Yeah,
we got NBC recognition though.
Okay, so we're still streaming.
We're not turned off. We're just demonetized.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Who cares?
Yeah, but
we need like 900 more subscribers for that.
Wait, I got an email from NBC.
Read it.
They like our boldness and they're offering us a job for podcasting. They're telling us we can sell out
for the low price of -$4 million.
Wow.
Whatever. They never know what fair use is. Anyway, back to the movie. I don't know.
I was talking about this NBC thing.
Yeah, sure. We can talk about NBC, but they raid a TV studio and shoot a bunch of aliens, and then they shoot the receiver, and they all die. That's kind of it. Like that's the end of the movie.
That's it.
I think it's such a cool thing that's like what's because we are anti-capitalism, we are anti advertising in this movie. And then the fact that it's a signal sent out that's like clouding everybody's view from the news station that's like telling us, what they want us to hear, I think is such a perfect way to end this movie. And then the fact that John Carpenter doesn't pussyfoot around. He has two main characters and he kills them both. Like we're not screwing around. We don't get a scene of afterwards where Roddy Piper like slowly climbs out of the rubble because he made it through. And that's one of those things that would have happened in a lot of lesser movies, but we don't. We just, Keith David gets shot in the back of the head. Roddy Piper, dies doing what he set out to do, and end of movie. And it's perfect.
Cut off everyone's 5G. Everyone's pissed.
Impossible. We've all been injected with it.
No,
But then how would people get podcasts?
or COVID?
Or COVID. Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, that is that's kind of They Live. I don't know. Anybody else? Anybody have any closing statements about this movie?
Dylan, what was your first viewing of this movie? When did this movie catch young Dylan Perry?
It was, I had seen the South Park episode with the two kid comedians where they parodied the fight scene frame for frame. And I looked up, I'm like, this feels like something. So I looked up the fight scene. I'm like, okay, cool. This is back in
stolen.
High school. It's very clearly a reference to something. And then we watched it in one of my intro to film classes in college. And I was like, oh, you can do movies like this, huh? Because it was a little herky jerky. It was really bare bones. And there was something in its kind of like devil may care. I don't really give a shit if you like this movie quality about it, which got me into John Carpenter and then confirmed that I wanted to study film and stuff like that. And Zach, you found a little bit of trivia about the movie. Do you want to share?
Oh, I found a lot of bit of trivia about this movie.
Okay.
But yeah, so obviously the aliens just known as they always, but the planet they're from is
Andromedon.
Andromedon. That's a cool name.
That's cool.
Isn't it? It's not Andromedon. Isn't that an actual galaxy?
That's
Andromeda.
Andromeda. There we go. Okay.
Yeah. No,
Nice.
but I found this movie. I was aware of this movie really young. I hadn't watched it until college, and it became kind of a regular, just kind of like, I got to do something for 90 minutes. I'll throw it on in the background. You can kind of tune in, tune out if you've seen it more than once. And as I kind of grew up and got some political stuff, I was like, oh, this is how you can really deliver a message in a movie without it being super preachy. It's very in your face, but it's not preachy about it.
Yeah.
So it's an intersection of a lot of things that I like about the potential in movies.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
I'm always a fan. I'm always a fan of finding out why certain movies are people's favorites. And yeah, especially like a quick thinker like yourself. I was super interested in how this caught you.
Yeah, no, that's kind of how it is. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't have much else to say about it as far as it's They Live. Go watch it. Wait for the inevitable cash grab follow up.
It's a fun movie. To be honest with you, if you just watch it, it's a fun movie. I'll probably end up watching it again.
Yeah,
it's a really fun movie to watch.
I do like he's originally from Denver, and that place dried up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is cool because I've been to Denver, and it is.
There's like
dry.
14 banks closed that week or something.
Yeah,
it's like 14 banks closed last week.
Yeah. No, I dig this movie, man. I think you did a really good job, and it's cool that this movie came out when it did because younger people, like at the time, like me, when I watched, I was like, aliens, this is cool. I want glasses, and I would have glasses on. I would fake shotgun and talk about it. But just knowing that the underlying message was to pay attention to homeless people and don't feed into the greedy rich organizations and think for yourself and go outside the box and that's cool that it wasn't like you said just bashed over your head. It was cleverly put into a very weird sci-fi over the top should have been B movie but is not. It's a classic. Yeah. Pick, man. Good job.
Yeah.
Good job. Are we doing? Do we still do reels? I haven't been here in a while.
No, we do reels. We do promotions. We do shit talking if people aren't here. So you get to join in on it this week.
Awesome.
So let's just go clockwise around the circle. Zach, Nada, reels, plugs, and bad mouthing. What do you got?
Yeah, so I'm gonna give this a solid 9 reels. Like I said, it really caught me off guard with the actual message of it. I let it play silent for a very long time. 9 hard, just stamp 9 reels. Love this thing. Yeah, if you want to hear my voice say very interesting words that Dylan writes, please check out Silicon Angels. You will not be upset about that whatsoever. Dylan and I have a lot of weird things going on, but on Tuesdays we do live shows where we just make up stories with each other. So if you want to help out with that, you can check us out on Twitch at Some Nobodies. But yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention, if you are using a VPN though, Phil Better would like everyone to use his VPN, which is Maple. I think it's Maple Syrup VPN is what he's calling it. It is a little bit
serious?
slow.
I'm surprised he hasn't got hit by MSN for copycatting their abbreviation.
Yeah, it's because he cleverly uses his own Maple VPN. Now, Maple VPN comes out of Ontario, Canada, just so you know, and you can set your location to either Ontario, Canada, or Ontario, Canada. The thing is that you can get things that Canadians can have that United States people cannot have. So if you're looking to watch Canadian tattoo makeovers, hop on over to Maple VPN and you can check out Phil Better's show.
You can also order the Canadian specialty ketchup donuts, which
yeah,
you don't know about if you're from the United States, but in Canada it's a huge thing.
When he does catch up to those donuts, though, he ravages those things.
There's the weird thing is that there's like ketchup mixed in the icing, but they're also filled with ketchup. It's so much ketchup in those donuts.
Yeah, which is weird because you would think it'd be tangy, but it's not. It is cloyingly sweet. It's like if tomato could make an icing. I don't understand it.
Well, in Canada, they make ketchup out of maple syrup.
Oh,
that makes so much more sense.
Yeah,
I've been ordering those ketchup donuts off of MSN for a month now. It's all I've been eating.
Right, really. Phil Better's Phil Better's an absolute piece of shit podcaster. That's
Michael, interject. Right,
Phil Better sucks. I hate it.
Dude, Phil Better talks so much trash on Michael when he's not around. But as soon as Michael shows up, he puts a tie on. He's like, "Oh, Michael, I want to try to make you money, eh? Come on, eh?" I don't know how Canadians speak. I think it's a lot of A's at the end. Oh, it's a boot. That's it.
I would love to hear what Phil had to say about me when I was sick, but the audio version of last week's podcast never went up. So, but
he's like, you know what I hate about Michael, and I'm like, Phil, I don't want to hear, buddy.
How do I hear, buddy?
Look, I don't care what Phil has to say about me. I'm still gonna plug his new podcast called A. And it's just like, in Mars Attacks where the aliens are like, but this whole podcast is just an hour of him interviewing other Canadians, but they're just like, and the other, and the guest is like,
Well, it's interesting. The reason that started, I don't know if you listened to episode 1, but Phil actually had a person on his show, where they were going to go over different letters of the alphabet, which is very stupid. I think in Canada, they have 2 extra ones. One looks like an H, but it's like a circle around it. But also the weird thing is that the other podcaster thought Phil was on his show. So they kept asking each other, "What's up?" And I tell you, you wouldn't think that's 2 hours of any kind of intriguing audio, but you'd be right. Flat out. It's not right. Best. Yeah,
okay, so I'm done giving Phil and his podcasts some airtime. So, this movie.
But you can check out his new YouTube channel where it's "Screw US, Canada's Mexico's Hat Now," and it's a long title. But I tell you, he really goes over some really good middle Mexican cuisine.
So They Live is one of like my favorite movies. I love this kind of thing. Everybody knows that this is exactly my kind of movie. I love Roddy Piper's performance in it. I love Keith David in anything. I love John Carpenter's the way he does his thing, the way he scores his stuff. And he's one of the like inspirations of like I said, he doesn't give a shit if you like his thing. He's going to make the thing that he wants to make. And that is the same way we do Jack Billings Presents Haunted Apartment Complex, where we write stuff and we do not care if you like it or not. We're making stuff for us. We do think you're going to like it, but if you don't, whatever, it's not for everyone. So check out Jack Billings Presents Haunted Apartment Complex. And I'm going to also give this movie a 9. The pacing problem is the only thing that I have against this movie. It does feel like it drags a little bit, but otherwise, it's a fun watch. It's a great movie. Check it out for sure. 9 reels. I just have one more thing to do. Yeah, they totally bought it. You can get me out of this studio at any time. Thanks.
Whoa.
Oh wow, he's really gone.
I didn't do that.
How'd he do that?
Where'd he go?
Oh, okay, cool.
No,
you
ruined my thing.
You can follow up where Michael went on Phil Better's new podcast. They live up here now.
Well, Phil couldn't be here today because he's filming his autobiography called I Live. It's my journey to being a sellout billionaire. So, yeah. All right, Dan, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna start from my reels. I gave this. I was originally gonna give it a 7, but then I saw Roddy Piper and I give it an 8, so it bumped it up a little bit. It's a fun movie. Like I'll definitely watch it again if it's on. I don't think I'm gonna go out of my way to go find it, but if it's on, and I have nothing to do, then I'll probably watch it. But yeah, it was fun. It was a great movie, and plus I was a huge wrestling fan back in the '80s. So there you go, brother. That's the wrong guy.
Yeah.
There you go,
right
brother.
on.
They're all brothers.
Where can we find you?
I'm DL Smokes, aka Dan Lovely. Oops, Caught Me Smoking every Saturday night at 9 p.m. EST. And also you can have Bet That every Thursday night at 9 p.m. And of course, you can catch me here now because I'll be back for most of the episodes.
Well, your movie's next. So
oh yeah, so yeah, Training Days next Monday. So I'll be here for that.
All right. And before I go into my stuff, I want to shout out to the real boys who couldn't make it tonight. We've got Chris Harvey, stand-up comedian, very funny guy. He's also in music videos and stuff. He has a show, the Chris Plus Chris podcast. Go check that out. We've got Jerry and Blaze at the Cloud Chronicles podcast. He also does Bet That with Dan Levely, who was here tonight. So you can go check him out.
Bet that.
Okay.
We need a recording so we can just put that on there.
Oh my God. You need to sample him for it. Got Justin Wallace. His new show is Anime Shenanigans, where they talk about anime and undergo shenanigans. It's in the title. Go check it out. They also did Carpool Shenanigans, which I think is defunct. Which is
I think that one's done. Anime Shenanigans. I don't like anime, and Anime Shenanigans is fun as hell. That's a good podcast.
And of course, Phil Better, the veritable anchor, which we drag every week he's not here. You can go check his stuff out at the Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast, Stock Dirty to Me, Podcaster Phil Better on Instagram, etc., etc. He's here fairly often, but he couldn't make it today because he is, of course, filming I Live, the story of a Canadian sellout. And my name is Dylan. I am also on all of the Some Nobody stuff with Zach. We're doing Real Boys, Twitching Upstream on Tuesdays. We've got a bunch of pre-recorded stuff out, our audio dramas, Silicon Angel, CYOP Appeal, etc. And I'm giving this movie a 9, kind of for the same reason that Michael gave it a 9. There are parts where it kind of drags. The last third feels a little aimless, where it's like, we got all the wacky stuff out of here. Like, we got all the wacky stuff on screen. The fight scene's done. The glasses are done. I guess we just raid a TV studio. So it's getting a 9 from me, which is total between the four of us about an 8.75, which I'm thrilled by because I hadn't seen this movie in a long time, and I am glad that it held up for new and returning viewers. But otherwise, that's been the Real Boys. Our Monday shows, our regular shows, where we watch our favorite movies. Next week is Dan's number 2, Training Day, which is a great movie that I remember. Denzel and Ethan Hawke.
Yes.
And Andy Milonakis.
Anthony Milonakis. Andy Milonakis not in it.
No, and King Kong.
King Kong. Yes.
King Kong, yeah. But Friday we're doing Dune.
We are.
Yeah, Dune 2.
Oh.
Yeah, the second, right?
Dune.
Yeah. The
Is it
new
Dune
one.
or Dune?
Which one?
Dune?
The 80s one is Dune.
Dune?
Stephen
This one's
Lynch.
Dune? Yeah.
Wait, are we watching Dude, Where's My Car?
Dude,
No.
Where's My Car?
I would
But if
much
you-
rather
Yeah,
watch
that's-
Dude, Where's My Car?
If you want to hear Phil Better's review of They Live, you can find it on random hit flicks, those little tiny USB drive clip things. You can find those just randomly behind a Circle K if you rummage through a trash can.
No, wait, I thought
yeah.
he put those on Hit Clips, which were the
Yeah, Hit
audio
Clips.
single,
Mhm.
like cassette tapes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Those little hit clips.
Okay.
He puts his podcast out on that one and just chucks reviews at people. And no one has the hit clips machine anymore, so no one knows what they are.
I don't know.
But I tell you,
It's
that guy's a
artisanal.
marketing genius.
Yeah, I don't
Marketing
understand how he
genius.
makes money doing this stuff, but
Yeah,
there it is. I guess we just have to put our podcasts on microfiche and put them into into like
paid.
libraries and stuff.
He's paid by alien overlords.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm telling you,
that
dude.
makes
I'm
sense.
telling you. Makes
And-
complete sense.
I think on that note, I think that's probably the best place to end this episode. And yeah, Real Boys, you heard us. You know who we are. We'll be back Friday and Monday from here on out.
Phil Better
Yeah.
sucks.
All right.
I don't know what was going on here.
he
But
really
Bye,
does that.
everyone.
Oh no, I was shooting kisses.
Okay. Zach with the kiss guns. And on that note, we're going to end the show. Bye, everyone.